Hello and welcome to another episode of a weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing a game called, I've forgotten the name, hang on, it's right there in the bottom right, Ballistic NG. And I'm going to be spending a lot of this weekly Waypoint talking about the Summer Game Fest offerings so far, and more specifically the Xbox Game Showcase. But first of all, I will address the video game, and also another thing that's happened to me this week. And actually another thing that's happened to me this week. This might be a slightly longer episode than usual. So first of all, this game is a game I picked up ages ago. It is obviously a very successful attempt, in my opinion, to harken back to the days of old Wipeout. It actually, when you boot it up, it gives you two options. It says, do you want to have like retro graphics or do you want to have like modern style graphics? Believe it or not, this is modern style graphics because retro graphics emulates the kind of limitations of a PlayStation 1, so it looks a little bit crustier, there's less lighting, there's more polygons, that kind of thing. But I thought, nah, give me the bells and whistles, I think it looks nice. Basically, the reason we're playing this today is because I wanted to play Crash Team Racing, the PS1 version, because I wanted to kind of like make a statement about, boy, I sure do wonder where Activision's back catalogue of games is on Game Pass, because I'm still waiting on Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel to join, because I love that game and I haven't played it in years at this point. I own a PS4 version, for if you're confused. And you know, there's a whole bunch of other games which, and they said, you know, it'll take time. When they acquired Bethesda, they kind of like started work on putting the games onto Game Pass around the same time that they started work on acquiring Bethesda, so it was pretty much ready by the time they joined. But that was like a year-long process, and this was like, I feel like, I could be wrong. I feel like it was like a year and a half ago now that they acquired Activision fully. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, I'm getting impatient. Wherever damn games! But anyway, I tried to record Crash Team Racing on PS1. I tried to record another game on PS2. And I've just been having technical issues today. So I was like, I don't know. What am I going to do? I'll just look at my Steam library for something, and then one of the first things that popped up in the category of racing, because I wanted to record a racing game today, was this game, and I went, oh, that kind of fits the similar kind of retro aesthetic that I'm looking for. Anyway, yesterday it was my 29th birthday, so you're now hearing the words of a 29-year-old Christian. Am I freaking out about turning 30? Not a bit, thank you for asking. I already mentioned this last week, by the way. If you haven't seen last week's video, I talk a lot about the videos I've been making being suppressed for various reasons, and I forgot I swore in the first minute of that video, and therefore I think that video was also algorithmically suppressed based by the views. Either that or people have just gone off me, which, fair enough. But I talked a little bit, I think, about leaning into franchise fiction. If I didn't talk about it here, I talked about it on my solo podcast, Christian's Audio Log. Do you know I have a solo podcast, by the way? I don't think I've mentioned it on this channel. It's mostly for like my friends and family, but I don't know, I feel like there's some crossover in the topics I would talk about here and the topics I talk about there. So if you want to hear me ramble about why franchise fiction is awesome, it's like a 7-minute long podcast episode on Spotify, Christian's Audio Log, spelled with a K. But yeah, I got some Star Wars High Republic books. I got the Assassin's Creed 2 novel, which I'm really excited about. And also, outside of franchise fiction, I got Skyward, the first Brandon Sanderson novel. These are all books I was asking for from people. Saw my family, spent time with friends, had a lovely day. And part of that lovely day was the fact that the Xbox Game Showcase premiered yesterday too. And now we are finally going to talk about that. And Summer Game Fest, we can talk about that too, but there wasn't really much in Summer Game Fest that really piqued my curiosity. There never has been. I think the Summer Game Fest showcase, are we on its 3rd year now? It feels very like, here's some updates to some free-to-play games that you don't play, and here's an indie title coming out for a very niche audience that probably isn't you. It's not a bad thing, but it's no Xbox Gaming Showcase, put it that way. In fact, more and more when I'm watching showcases like Summer Game Showcase, I kind of feel like so many games are like trying their best to grab my attention, and so many of them are just being thrown at me one after the other, that I almost feel like a kind of numbness comes over me, and I'm just like, what am I watching now? Oh look, there's a bold character, there's a crazy character design, there's a yeah, okay. Like, it just kind of washes over me after a certain point, and I feel almost like overstimulated to the point of paralysis or numbness or whatever. I don't know if this is an aging thing. I don't know if this is a I've seen too many of these things. I don't know if this is a I'm tuning into a showcase that isn't really aimed at me personally, so I'm kind of wasting my time here kind of a thing. I don't know what it is. One thing that did come out of Summer Game Fest is we learned a little bit about Metaphor Refanta Zero or something by the Persona devs, and I've just finally clicked that, like, it's almost like, you know how Bethesda have like their sci-fi game and their fantasy game, or I guess their post-apocalypse game and their fantasy game, and now they've got a sci-fi game too. Well, it's almost like this is their version of that, Persona being like their modern day game and Metaphor being like their more fantasy times game, and instead of having a persona that you summon to fight for you, you take on this Metaphor which it's like a job system, and you can collect, there's like 40 of them they said, or 60, I forget what the number was, and you collect them, and I really like the sound of that. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's coming to Game Pass unless I'm misremembering, so it's not a game I'm going to buy at launch, but I'll keep my eye on it for sure. Once again this year I fell into the perils of being extremely invested in a game on a screen and then forgetting it exists the next day, because I'm currently reading through my Blue Sky posts here, and one of them is very interested in Wonderstop. Oh my god, hashtag Summer Game Fest. I don't know what Wonderstop is. I have no memory of Wonderstop. I need to like take a step back and be like, am I going to remember this tomorrow? Anyway, yeah, there wasn't really much at Summer Game Fest that jumped out at me. Let's just jump straight to the one where there's tons to talk about. So the Xbox Gaming Showcase had 2 prequels that I was not expecting, but I like the look of both of them. They had Doom: The Dark Ages, which surprised me because I swear it said they were done with Doom after Eternal. I swear they said that at like a QuakeCon or something. But hey, I'm not mad. I'm excited because I remember playing through Doom 2016 and being like, wow, there's a lot of lore about like the origin of like the Doom Slayer, and the fact that like he hell's terrified of him and stuff. It would be cool to see a prequel. That is a thought I have had in the past, but I always thought this prequel would be more like the Doomslayer as like a medieval knight in the time before guns and stuff, but no, he's still in very kind of like modern looking biker gear / armor, and he's still, I mean, it's not very modern looking, but you know what I mean. It doesn't look like it comes out of the Middle Ages, and he's still using like a shotgun and stuff. So I'm kind of wondering how they're gonna is his origin story just like 30 years old instead of like 1,000 years old like I assumed it was, or something, or is this like shotguns technology from like another civilization, or I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I guess it doesn't really matter. What matters is the game is fun, and then they can write the lore around that. That's kind of, as far as a game like Doom goes, I think that is the order of importance. And yeah, it looks fun. There's a gun which shoots skulls at people. He's got a shield now. I still need to play through Eternal. I played through the first few levels of that, and for some reason, even though I could tell it was a really good game, it didn't grip me quite the way 2016 did. I think Doom 2016 is a lot like Portal 1 in that while its sequel is also an incredible game and like innovates on some of the things it did well, and by all accounts should be seen maybe as the better game, the original game is like the perfect length, and it's just like the perfect package in what it gives you. And yeah, I don't know, it's not like the sequel's bloated, but it's hard to explain, but I feel like people probably get what I'm talking about. But yeah, I should play for Eternal before this comes out. And then the other prequel is the Gears of War prequel, which is Gears of War E-Day, which is all about when, I guess, the aliens first invaded. Because if you play Gears of War 1, and I've played through, I feel like 80% of that game, and it's the only Gears of War game I've played. This was a few years ago, I've been meaning to get back to it. You can actually see, back in my old Xbox Game Parts series, before I could actually record my footage through a capture card, I would just save clips and then kind of like have a no commentary style video of my clips, like a compilation of them, and you can see me playing through Gears of War in those videos. The Ultimate Edition or the Modern Edition or the Remastered Edition or whatever they did. And like a lot of people, I've kind of been holding out hope for like a Master Chief Collection style remaster collection of all the games, but it's not really necessary, I guess. And yeah, I'm a little aware of the lore of E-Day and like the invasion of I forget what the aliens are called in Gears of War, but I would be down to play through that. That sounds like a cool idea for a game, and I love both this Doom game and this Gears of War game because it's a smart idea to like have this almost like jumping on point of like, this is the newest thing, and it eliminates the question of do I need to play the other games in the series first, because it's a prequel. And I feel like we don't see a lot of prequels in gaming, and I feel like this, if these two are successes, it could open up an age of prequels in gaming, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, is the age of prequels upon us in gaming? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Give me that engagement. It's fine. It's fine. You don't have to. That was a joke. Anyway, we also saw some more of Avowed and Fable, which I'm grouping together. I'm just grouping pairs of games together to talk about in this video because there are so goddamn many of them. Avowed continues to look good. Apparently, we're getting more of a deep dive into the gameplay of it soon. Today? It might have been today. It might have already happened. I need to look into that. And then also, Fable looks really bloody good. For the first time, we're actually starting to get a sense that there's a story to this game beyond just hijinks. And of course, Fable should have hijinks. That's kind of like the type of game it is. It's supposed to be a comedy game. I've only played a little bit of the first one, but still. Yeah, I think this looks cool. And yeah, that kind of ties into what I was saying about prequels. I feel like the gaming industry relies more on reboots than it does on prequels to get people sold on jumping into a series. Fable's very much in the reboot camp, it seems like. But yeah, no, it still seems cool. I'm interested to see where that story is going to go, and I'm looking forward to playing it. It looks very pretty. We still don't have many details on the actual gameplay of that, and while I haven't looked at Xbox's tweets today, maybe they've announced it. Usually they do like a follow-up showcase where they do a little bit more of a deep dive a week later into like some of these more gameplay oriented demonstrations, and I hope they do that again this time, and I hope Fable's part of that. Expedition 33 and South of Midnight are two very stylistic games which caught my attention. Expedition 33 is like French core. I don't know how else to say it. I guess it just takes place in France. I don't need to be weird about it. But it's a game with a very, very, very cool premise, which I wish I had thought of, where this mysterious antagonistic figure every year paints a new number as like a countdown, and the number it paints is the age of the people who all just vanish and die. And I guess that's the story of the game. The gameplay, excitingly, is turn-based combat. And that was unexpected, because I think when you think of turn-based combat games, you think of like pixel games, you think of like Octopath Traveler, you think of like Final Fantasy, you think of JRPGs and stuff, right? Although I guess recent Final Fantasies haven't been pixel-based, but they've also not been turn-based. And I was excited when I saw that, because I really enjoy turn-based combat. It lets you actually just think through combat, it lets you strategize, it lets you approach it at your own pace. And I feel like every action game it is a little different. You need to learn it, and when you play too many of them, it kind of wears you down a little bit. You're like, wait, hang on, especially if you're playing a few next to each other, you're like, wait, what are the controls again, what are the combinations, etc. And I think maybe this is just me getting older, I think I'm a turn-based guy now. And to see a game that's as like graphically that's got as much graphical fidelity, I guess, as this game, with such like a cool premise and unique premise and stuff, and it's also a turn-based game. I don't know, it was unexpected and really cool, and I'm excited about it. And then also the other one I just mentioned, South of Midnight, we've had a few trailers for, is a very unique looking game. That one is more of an action game, but I really like, it kind of gave off action platformer vibes to me, which I'm really excited about. Hopefully it's not too heavy on the Souls-like combat. It didn't look too Souls-like-y, it just kind of looked, you know, parrying and stuff matters. I don't know if it was parrying, but like dodging and stuff matters. But as long as it's not too difficult, because I really can't get into Souls-likes, I've tried so many times. Yeah, I think that game looks pretty cool too. Welcome to this week's episode of Weekly Waypoint, where I'm just talking about games that I think look pretty cool. A DLC update was announced for Starfield, which I already own because I bought the add-ons pack or whatever. Shattered Space was finally unveiled. I was actually expecting something a little bit different, but it looks like we're leaning more into the Great Serpent lore, which is pretty cool. I'm sure I've still got plenty of Great Serpent lore to just explore in the base game, because I did the main story and then I did oh god, what are they called, the Vanguard, I think, story, and then I was starting on like the other faction, the other main faction, like the cowboy looking dudes. I was in the middle of their story when I put down the game. So I don't think I've done the part of the game that talks about like the Great Serpent lore, but the hints they gave us before Starfield released sounded really interesting to me, so it's cool that the DLC seems to be doubling down on that. And also I think I saw something like a little detail about the fact that this DLC all takes place on one planet, which is a little bit strange, because I could have sworn the initial description said something about like, oh, it expands a whole sector of, you know, new systems to explore or whatever. But maybe it's like, oh, that's all like randomly generated stuff, and then we've just put a lot of effort into one planet, which I guess could be cool, because Bethesda, as we've seen, do their best work when they are focusing like non-randomly generated content, like developer-led content on a single location, I guess. Now for some unexpecteds. I was not expecting there to be a sequel to Life is Strange. And something I picked up on is it's not being made by Don't Nod. It seems to have been handed to a different developer, unless they've rebranded and I've missed it. I never played through Life is Strange, but I did watch a playthrough of it, and I quite liked the story. So, yeah, I don't think there's been any more sequels to Max's story specifically. I know there's been like other games in the same universe. Like there is a game called Life is Strange 2, but it's about a different cast of characters. So yeah, it's cool to see Max in kind of like she's older now, she's in a different life situation. You get the impression that she's probably moved away, she's got a different cast of friends, I guess, in her life. And that gives me, what was the show called? That gives me Skins vibes. Skins was a British series about teenagers in school, and they did this fantastic 7th season where they went back and revisited them as adults, and the way they kind of showcased the kind of like how your life like changes over the course of 5 years, especially at that age, and how your life looks completely different to how it did 5 years ago, and how you're a different person to who you were 5 years ago. It's giving me those kind of vibes, and that's one of the things I love exploring in stories the most, like a meaningful time skip. So yeah, I might actually pick this up. Probably not when it first comes out, but at some point at least. And I've never played through Life is Strange myself, so maybe I'll pick that up and play through that in anticipation. I don't know, I'm interested, I'm really intrigued. Then there was that Dragon Age trailer. Oh, Dragon Age fans, how you doing? I don't think that was it, was it? That wasn't this game has gone through some iterations, right? It was an untitled game that got, you know, scrapped and started from the ground up, which was, the original version was meant to be like this online multiplayer experience or whatever, and they scrapped that, thank god. And then it was going to be Dreadwolf, whatever that was going to be about, and then they changed the title, so I don't know if they scrapped it again, and now it's this Veilguard thing, and they're trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's meant to be funny, and it doesn't seem like a Dragon Age game, and I'm so concerned for you all. Oh no. Hopefully it's just bad marketing and the game turns out great anyway. We got to see some more Assassin's Creed Shadows. We actually got to see some gameplay. I'll be honest, I was excited to see the gameplay. I was happy it was there. The gameplay didn't exactly blow my socks off. It wasn't like a full-on gameplay demo. It was just kind of like scraps and stuff. And I don't think it was maybe the best put together presentation, but hopefully we get to see more in Ubisoft Forward later today. While I'm talking about Ubisoft Forward, I'm also excited to see more from Star Wars Outlaws. I think that game could actually be really cool. Although I don't love the time period of being set during the original trilogy. I feel like that's always a little bit weird when they try that. It's either during or just directly after or just directly before or something, but I don't like when like, oh look, it's Jabba the Hutt and Lando's here, because in my brain I'm going, yeah, but that wasn't written during the original time. Do it like Mandalorian does, where it's like just exploring another corner of that universe with original characters. That's what I would prefer. Anyway, WoW and Diablo had new trailers in the Xbox Gaming Showcase. The World of Warcraft trailer confused me, because I was like, why are we going through all the old expansions? Are they announcing that it's coming to Game Pass or something? But no, it was just Xalatath being like, and now this is the final battle. I'm like, yeah, okay, I've heard that before several times. The Diablo 4 trailer was literally harrowing. It was so dark and amazing, and I think it's because the reason it affected me more than just like if they showed those horrible things happening to a brand new character we'd never seen before, like they did in the original trailer, I'd be like, wow, that's cool, that's dark, that's messed up, I like it. But because it's happening to a named character who we've already kind of like quested with and spent time with, it's, I think, way more effective for that reason. And finally, they showed off a new Call of Duty, which I'm probably going to give a shot since it's coming to Game Pass. It sure does look like some more Call of Duty. Those games are just mindless fun. You turn your brain off and you have fun for a few weeks in multiplayer, at least for me. I'll try to campaign out as well, but that is a lot of gigabytes, so it's not staying on my Xbox for very long, I'm afraid. I really thought they were going to bring the older Call of Duties to Game Pass with this announcement so people could get caught up on the story, but I guess fucking not. And yeah, those are my showcase thoughts. If I skipped over something, it's probably because it didn't appeal to me that much, or I just have very neutral thoughts about it. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video, which I was going to mention earlier but forgot, is I just got a new phone. My Google Pixel 4a has served me well for many years, but EE told me I could upgrade, and I thought about going for another SIM-only contract, but then I looked it up and realised that support for my phone had ended last year, and that means security support as well, and given what we do on our phones these days, probably a good idea to refresh my phone. So I'm, absolute shocker, got the Google Pixel 8a. Wow, he's really pushing the boat out on technology. I'm not as excited about a new phone upgrade as I used to be, purely because phone technology kind of plateaued a long time ago. No matter what fancy language the companies like Apple and Samsung and Google try and throw at you, it's, especially if you're just moving one generation ahead, that is just like, there is hardly any change. But yeah, I've moved 4 generations ahead, and my camera is apparently substantially better, and my battery life is apparently better, and there's a few things. Mostly, the main thing I'm noticing is my phone is heavier now. It's just heavier and thicker. And also, that really handy thing we do nowadays, where we just transfer our phone data over Bluetooth between the two phones, that failed for me, despite me not moving them and them being close together, and there was no way to retry it, and there's no way to reinitiate that from the settings that I can find, so I'm having to manually redo all of my phone shit on my new phone, and it's gonna take me all day, and I'm slightly salty about this. Having to log back into everything, having to make sure my authenticators are all set up correctly, having to make sure my emails are on there, and oh my god, it's an absolute pain in the arse. Last time I got a new phone, the kind of Bluetooth data transfer thing went off without a hitch. I was like, oh wow, it's really easy these days. So I was not expecting to run into this problem today, so yeah, slightly grumpy. But hey, new phone, woohoo! Just in time for my birthday. It's just the same phone. It's just the same phone, really. It's not that exciting. It just costs me £10 a month more. It's just kind of annoying, actually. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed me failing at this game, because I've never been very good at these Wipeout-style games. I sure did cram a lot of information and opinions into today's episode, and there's still things I could have talked about, like the fact I'm currently kind of hyperfixating on just the absurdity of how many awesome Big Finish Doctor Who audio stories exist that nobody ever seems to talk about outside of Big Finish fans, including the actors who were in them. And, sorry, gotta pause this now because I really should have mentioned this. I just discovered this week that there's a podcast called Into the TARDIS where they are kind of re-releasing some of their audio dramas for free in podcast format, with Colin Baker hosting and giving some kind of behind the scenes stuff. It's really good, you should check it out. And also the other thing I forgot to mention is I'm currently playing through Octopath Traveler 2 on Game Pass, and it's really good. Okay, I swear that's it. I'm gonna let past me do the outro now. But yeah, anyway, that's me for the week. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've had a good week. I hope you have another good week, and I will see you in whatever I make next.